Of the Lancaster Criminal Justice Commission to order. Staff, could we have a roll call?
Commissioners Brown,
Present.
Fuller, Harris,
Present.
Herr,
Present.
Madrano will be absent, Vice Chair Little,
Present.
Chairman Mercy.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have someone to lead us in the invocation? Oh, okay. Okay. Pam Balch from Assemblyman Lackey's office will lead us in our invocation this morning.
Lord God, we thank you for this opportunity to meet together, to have a meeting of the minds, and to help each other, encourage each other, strengthen our resolve to be the very best that we can be for this community. We ask for your help and your guidance, and we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, thank you. Captain, would you like to lead us in our pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation
under God, indivisible, with your own liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to presentations. Like I said, we have no presentation, so we're moving on to the consent calendar. Approval of the minutes from the February 9th meeting. Is there any corrections or objection to approving the minutes as presented? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Commission and staff presentations, updates, and reports. Let's go to the LA County Sheriff's Department.
Good morning, everybody. I am sad that I can't see my commissioners live and in action like I can see you. So I'm glad to be back. Few things going on. I want to introduce you to my new partner. Deputy DeSiga got promoted to detective, so I have a new partner, Miss Marisol Dennison. Deputy Dennison, can you come on up? Introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Deputy Dennison, and I'm newly assigned to the Lancaster Community Relations Unit. I've been at Lancaster Station for approximately 3 years, where I've served primarily in a patrol capacity, but I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to doing a lot of great work.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, partner. I appreciate it.
And congratulations to Detective DeSiga.
Yes. I got to get used to saying that. So when I see her, I'll definitely tell her. She's been hibernating in her cubicle, learning a lot. So today we'll be going over our Crime Commission report for the month of January 2022. This will be the City Crime Commission report. I don't know if you guys can see that, Commissioner, but it will be brought up shortly on the screen. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, let's go on to our next slide. All of our crime prevention techniques are, and all the information we receive is we use resources such as social media, public safety announcement, Facebook, Zoom meetings, workshops, and town hall meetings, which that is another thing I got to mention too at the end of this presentation is our town hall. Let's go on to the next slide, shall we? All right, burglaries. Burglaries for the month of January. We're going to have a total of burglaries of 43, 12 residential, 31 commercial. If you look at the residential portion, we're going to be down, and that is consistent because after the holidays, for some reason, crime tends to slow down. Commercial burgs are slightly up, though. They were 26 in December. They are now at 31. Let's go on to our next slide, please. Robberies. Total robberies are 24. They are slightly up from the month of December. They were at 15. Armed is 13. Strong armed is 11. Both of those are up as well from the month of December. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Our community engagement for the month of January, we were freezing, but we got it done. We wanted to contact the early commuters, right? So the people that never get any love, the ones that jump on to the MetroLink and they do their daily trips. So we set up shop right at the MetroLink, coffee and donuts as they got onto the MetroLink to make their early morning commute. It was an awesome turnout. We had a huge turnout with our deputies as well. So we're going to be continuing to do that, and as it heats up, it makes my life way easier. So another community engagement we do our coffee with the deputy. Our coffee with the deputy is normally held at Crazy Autos. We will be expanding it to other avenues such as Starbucks. We'll be doing one in Lake LA as well. So we're going to be expanding our coffee with the deputy, which is a huge success as far as engaging with the community. So we want to get into other avenues and other areas of the city and county to get that done as well. And that will be the commission report, the crime commission report for January. Does anybody have any questions on that portion? No, okay. We will be moving on to our comp stats. Our comp stats for the city of Lancaster 2022. Let's go on to the first slide. Our homicides. Our homicides are going to be down, thank you. Thank God. Homicides are down, so it's looking good. They're averaging around 3. Let's go on to the next slide. Our rapes are steadying. There was no change from December to January, averaging around 7. Our robberies are slightly up, averaging around 22. Our aggravated assaults are a little under. They are going up, but they're averaging around 69. Our domestic violence related aggravated assaults are slightly up, averaging around 9 for the month of January. Our burglaries, that looks different from my slide. Let's see here. I must have got it mixed up. On mine, it shows it's down. It's averaging around 49, but for some reason, oh, you know what? It is the same one. It's just blocking because of the pictures behind it, so you can't see the end. It's down actually, averaging 49. Your larceny and thefts, they are actually down a little bit. Normally that's not the case, but that's a good thing. We're averaging around 100 for the month of January. Grand theft vehicles over a period of a year have gone down, averaging around 92. Obviously, that also coincides with our Cat Crusaders, which I'm pretty sure you guys heard of. So it shows they're actually is showing a little bit of a change, which is good, very good. Arsons, down, averaging 4. And then we're going to go on to our hotspots. Hotspots for the month of January are going to be around 20th Street West. You can see just north of Avenue J, I believe, right over there. We have
Valley Central Way.
Yeah, it's about Valley Central Way. So all of those are going to be your snatch and grabs, your larceny, shoplifting. That's usually what that means. See that dark spot right about Avenue J and looks like Sierra Highway, or is that about Sierra Highway and Avenue J? You're gonna have some hot spots in that area. That is usually normal. We have teams dedicated to pinpointing certain hot spots, and then obviously they'll move month to month in different areas throughout the city. So this time we're looking at about Valley Central Way, and we're looking about Avenue J and Sierra Highway, somewhere around there. There's some at Avenue K as well. You can see it right by the freeway. There's a wash over there. Our transient situation has contributed to those Part 1 crimes as well, because of the businesses, small businesses in the area where the transients tend to sleep. So
On the east side, it looks, is that J and Challenger Way where there's kind of a...
Yeah, J and Challenger Way is going to be right where that
center?
CVS is, and
Yeah,
then
okay.
right over there is another hotspot. Obviously, it's a small, it's a business area, business district. So, Commissioner, did you have a question?
Yeah, the one I'm looking at too is, it kind of popped out to me right there on Lancaster Boulevard. And is it 10th Street West?
Yes, it looks like it's about there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
along that area all the way to Sierra Highway. Can you fill me in on that one there?
Yeah, so Lancaster Boulevard all the way to Sierra Highway. So you have your business district on the boulevard, obviously.
Right.
Our city liaisons on the boulevard have been doing an amazing job as far as reporting, because remember, we got to create stats to find out what's going on. So they've been doing a lot of reporting, which is what we need, because if you don't report it, it doesn't happen and we can't address the situation. So the knowledge that we've been giving the city liaisons, they have been pushing hard and generating stats as far as getting reports done and completed and open investigations, which is why you're gonna see that hot spot on the boulevard, because now things are being reported. And when they're being reported, it generates stats, and it actually shows where the problem is that we can actually address.
Okay. And actually, earlier this morning, we had our sheriff's booster meeting, and one of the members mentioned that they hadn't even been calling in shoplifting issues because, knowing that the Board of Supervisors has underfunded and defunded the department. But the captain mentioned that it is still important, and we want to get the word out to file those reports, because those accurate numbers, give you the justification to continue pushing for the proper amount of funding that you deserve.
Absolutely. We've been encouraging our deputies to encourage the victims of shoplifting and theft to file a report. Mm-hmm. We would never discourage them from not filing it, regardless of what the DA is going to do. So that being said, you can see just by the hot spots on the boulevard that we're still generating reports. Otherwise it would be blank if that was the case. So just knowing that we can actually see these hot spots and where the problems are, reports are being pushed and they are being generated. What happens after that obviously is not within our control, but at least it's being addressed to show that the Sheriff's Department is doing what they need to do. Any other questions? No? Okay. We'll be moving on to our LEAPS report. Obviously, the LEAPS report has been modified, so it's not dragged on, which I've been doing, so I apologize for that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going over your highlighted areas for your LEAPS report, and when it comes up on the screen, I'll explain to you what I'm going to be reading off. It's not like in the file. There we go. Yay. Okay. Perfect. That'll work. I'll take it. No worries. No problem. So for those of you that don't know what LEAPS is, what it is it's an airplane that is actually manned by somebody, and it's very high up in the air. It's like a dot in the air if you look at it with the naked eye. You barely notice it. And it acts as our own personal aero unit, which aero is usually the helicopter that goes around and flies around and looks for, helps the Sheriff's Department out with identifying crimes and fires and things of that nature. Well, the city has paid for this LEAPS program, and it actually helps out tremendously. So what I'll be going over once the LEAPS report comes up, if we can get it up, is what it has accomplished for the month of January. I have actually been trained myself on operating the LEAPS camera, so I understand how it works and what we're trying to get accomplished here. The program itself is phenomenal. I'm amazed that the city is able to do this for us, but it is very much needed out here since we're one of the busiest stations in LA County. So what I'm going to be going over is just what it's led to and what we hope to accomplish in the near future. No worries.
Hey, Deputy Green.
Yes, I am listening.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah,
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, yeah, while we're waiting for the leave, the comms that do you report it? Because I know you guys have a still deputy goes out to the school, right?
Yes, we have one deputy assigned to each high school. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and those, whatever it happened to at the school violence, is it reported to the? Is it added to the then number? Is it added to the reporting number, Hampstead? Or is
Yes, that is correct. Each school has their own reporting district, which goes to our stats as well. So yes, it is incorporated in our stats. So if something happened on campus, it will be calculated in what I'm actually telling you as well.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. All right, there's our LEAPS report. Okay, awesome. On the right-hand side, you're gonna see a bunch of green boxes. Each box represents the type of incident that LEAPS helped address or responded to. Okay, so in the month of January, LEAPS helped in response to 16 arrests. It's gonna be 23 traffic stops they responded to as well, 6 burglary and robberies, fights and assaults, they responded to 25. Persons with a gun, 3. And other offenses and suspicious circumstances, 21. Now you have to realize something that LEAPS is done right now currently on a limited basis. So the amount of hours they put in is very limited. And even with those limited hours, they were able to accomplish all of this that you see on the right-hand side. You can see the pictures on the screen to get a better idea of what we're seeing from the air. We can see flames, we can see fires, we can see people running, we can see clothing description, we can see everything. So it actually allows us to actually track the person without risking the community driving code 3, right? We can pull back, get an idea where this person's at, and not have to drive erratically trying to catch up with this person. So that is a huge win when it comes to safety for the community and getting the job done and actually making the arrest on the suspect safely, because they always hunker down at some point. Okay, we'll go on to the next page. So what I'm going to be showing you on the next page is an overall percentage of what LEAPS has done as far as involving themselves with our responses to calls. So 35% involved people, 16% involved arrests and detentions, 7% involved property, 23% involved vehicles, and 19% involved observations only. The LEAPS receiver has been expanded to go way farther than it originally was able to. So we can actually hit the county areas as well. That's how far out we can go, which wasn't the ability a few years, like a year back. So we want to thank you for just improving the LEAPS program overall. And I look forward to seeing what upgrades that this plane will have in the future.
Can you give an example of what an observation only?
So an observation is we'll get a call for service saying, hey, there's this suspicious, vehicle in the area. And we're able to fly over, identify the vehicle. If someone maybe is driving erratic or anything like that, we can observe. If there's no evidence of someone driving erratic, then there's no reason for us to respond. So it allows us to get more of a reconnaissance done prior to us being dispatched out to that call, because every call is important, don't get me wrong, but we need to reserve our resources and respond to actual crimes and things of that nature, whereas LEAPS can actually identify something that is maybe not emergent in nature but may need to be looked at, right? So we can fly them over there. Hey, can you take a look at this area? It seems like something might be going on, and we look at it, it may deserve a call for service. Let's go ahead and put one in. And then meanwhile, the deputy can respond to something, baby not breathing, or a robbery in progress, where that does require an immediate response.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
Deputy, didn't we not talk about new cameras and stuff at one time?
Yes, we did. I don't have an update as far as that's concerned. I will have to follow up with the LEAPS coordinator to find out what that status is.
Okay, also too, I thought we discussed maybe them coming back and saying on an emergency basis, what what would that be the time frame? I understand if they're in the sky and they're flying limited as it is. One of the questions, if I remember right at the last meeting, that if there was an emergency, what's the response time?
Yeah, and I believe he stated the response time was between an hour or two because we have to go through the list of actual pilots to find out who's available on call. And that was the issue. He gave about a 2-hour window as far as an emergency response time.
Yeah, I thought they were going to come up with a little bit more information, but I'm just reading my notes from last night. Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree 100%. I don't have anything further, though, on that.
All right.
Any additional questions? If none, that will be the end of my presentation for Lancaster Sheriff Station. Thank you.
Thank you. LA County Probation.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, good. I'm just having trouble with my computer, so I apologize for that. Good news for us, we're going to be opening our office, no mask required, whether vaccinated or not, beginning on March 21st, which I believe is Monday, the 21st of this month. The Board of Supervisors and the Human Resources have allowed us to go that route, which means we'll be able to have to reorganize and begin our a better connection with the people we supervise. We've had to kind of do it, unfortunately, how would I put it, just a little unorthodox from what we're used to doing except for the last 2 years. We had to do a lot of voice calling, a lot of chasing, a lot of trusting, a lot of developing relationships through other avenues, but most of them were not face-to-face, which was difficult to adjust to. So we'll be doing that on March 21st, which is a couple weeks from now, about 10 days from now. As I shared with you in the past month, we've acquired a mobile resource unit for the community. It looks like we're going to be using that in exercises beginning at the end of this month and the beginning of April. We've chosen 3 locations throughout the Antelope Valley to assist and hopefully capture some of the people that we haven't been able or have difficulty reporting because of distance, inability, transportation, and now with the cost of gas hitting us now as a society, we're going to have more excuses and more reasons for them not to appear in person. We're going to have people say, I don't have enough gas money, I don't have the means to get there, and so on and so on. So this is just another mountain to climb for some of them to get here. So this resource unit will be, hopefully, we know it's going to be a slow process of getting it out there as far as getting people to report to it, but we're hoping that we'll be able to have it long enough in our area. So the areas we've decided on that would be best fit would be near the fairgrounds, where there's some open encampments for homeless and transient. The west side of Lancaster near 60th and I, out by the prison and by Challenger Memorial Youth Center that we used to occupy on a full-time basis for the probation department. And then out in Little Rock on 90th and Avenue T East, we were able to we have a designated probation officer, one of our armed deputies who's taking the bull by the horns. He's going to be responsible for the unit, and he maintains it, keeps it up to date, keeps it clean, and things of that nature. And we're going to try to take it to those places and get some of those folks that have difficulty reporting that live in the outlying areas of the Antelope Valley to be able to make it a little easier so we can monitor them a little closer. That's the key. Looks like in April we'll be attending a career day over at Hyden High School. We'll be setting our mobile unit as well as 7 to 8 deputies in different formats of what we do, so that way that we can encourage those students that if they want to take a path toward law enforcement and probation may be an option. So we'll be hanging out there for the day. It's a career day, haven't had in person. We usually are regular attendance. We share it with the sheriff's departments out there, corrections, fire departments, and all kinds of other legal areas are out there, so of the community. So it's always a good part to be a part of. So Hyden High School will have that I'm trying to remember what date is off the top of my head. I want to say the 19th or something of that nature, but I'll have to double check that. So let's see here. We're still continuing our rewards program, encouragements. We're trying to take this path, as we've talked about before, about encouraging people that there's rewards and assistance. We have, I believe, 66 people housed out here in housing that's provided for them. A percentage of them are working, finding work, jobs. We have, with construction coming up again, we have some people doing that. Some of those auxiliary funds are helping them provide tool belts, work boots, helmets, things that the company may not provide for them. We even have a couple people at BYD that are doing really well over there, which is always good news. And then I'll go down to our statistical part of our job here. We had 7 warrants issued last month, but we had 12 recalls. That means that they were back in compliance. They were recalled saying that they did what they were supposed to do. They may have missed an appointment. The court issued a warrant, but they're back in satisfactory conditions, so they got recalled in that aspect. We're averaging right now about 131 home visits, contacts, if you will. Those are interactions where we go to the address provided. We ensure that that address is correct and that person is complying with the probation guidelines that they have, he or she. We've had a minimal amount of violations, which means more people are in compliance. So we're seeing that as a thing in a positive manner. And again, once we reopen completely and the word gets out that we're reopened completely, we're going to have the ability to build that relationship that we need to have in order to be successful and to keep our violations down and our successes on the upswing. So that's one of the things that we're looking forward to. We're waiting to receive our new drug testing elements that we use. The process will be swabbing, will be saliva. They'll suck on a little stick like a lollipop for a minute or two. It'll turn a certain color. We'll put it in the tube. We'll seal it, just like a sample of any type that we use. We'll send it out to the lab and we'll get a result in a day or two. And again, this is going to help us be a little bit more accurate. Right now, we've been struggling with testing, but we've been, again, seeing people more often, talking to them more often. But the testing is going to come in handy for those of them that have narcotic testing requirements based on their conditions. As you know, it's been a rough couple of years. We had 39 new additions to our clientele. 23 of them were considered high, but not ultra high. So ultra high being the most higher risk. So most of our guys are usually high risk because they have an extensive criminal record. But they're actually doing pretty well under the circumstances. So I think that all in all I think like all of us, we survived the pandemic as far as what we do in the community and how we do it. And I think we're going to get better because of it. So that's all I really have for now at the moment. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Or if you have any suggestions or ideas where you may think, sometimes the eyes of the community could tell us like, hey, I noticed there's an encampment out on Avenue D and 90th West, and that maybe we could, possibly use that as a position to take for a few hours, a couple of days a month for the mobile resource unit. So if you have an idea, I'd like to hear it. If there's a location that you may think would be beneficial to the community.
Mr. Sepulveda, is there something that this commission can do for you? What would you like?
I think
what can we do?
I think like everybody else, first of all, I appreciate being a part of this and being allowed to share with you guys and represent our department. You guys have been very supportive and encouraging. All of you, regardless of who's on the board, you all seem to have that same thing in common. We all want to make the place we live in better. Can we be better than yesterday? So I think all in all is that you understand what we are doing. We're taking a whole different approach, and most of us are over 30, so we have a whole different approach. And that if you can receive it and understand it, that makes it easier for us to communicate it with you folks. And that means that we just don't hook them and book them anymore. We really, really, really are in a position to try to really work with them. And trust me, they taught this old dog some new tricks, because I've been doing this for almost 34 years. And when you're so used to doing things a certain way, and now we've had these big and changes, just your support, keep inviting us back so we can share some of the things we can do. If you have ideas about, like I said, if you're out driving one day, you say, I'm seeing, a homeless encampment out here, and I bet you there's probably 10 people on probation or so. Maybe that's a place we should hit for a couple hours, and we can tell those guys, because a lot of them have cell phones. The majority of them have communications. But if we can tell them, hey, we're going to be out in your area next Wednesday, we have a better chance of capturing them and communicating with them and maybe keeping them out of trouble. And we're always going to offer them housing. We encourage every single person that's transient or homeless or claims to be, we offer them housing every chance we get. And some of them just don't want it, but we still offer it to them and try to encourage that, to get them off the streets and out of the desert. But no, you guys have been great. Your support has been fantastic. And like I said, if a light bulb goes on, you have something to think that may benefit us, we'd love to hear it. They can always use jobs, but like I said, you guys have been helpful with that. So like I said, we have a couple of people that work at some of our major hiring areas out here, BYD and Kaiser and a few other, and they work there and they're doing well. So we do have a lot of people that can do well. We put them in the right environment and convince them to get out of that environment. So that's the whole plan. Instead of just saying go to jail and stuff, and we'll try it again next time, and the cycle continues. So it's a little change of the way we do things, but I think in the last couple of years we've seen a lot of changes in how we do things. But again, very appreciative of being a part of this on a panel, so we can share our good things and some of the things that we concern ourselves about. And like I said, I think part of being part of this panel, I think what allowed us to encourage us to get a mobile resource unit. We are a geographically spread out area. We're not the metropolitan area where it's a 15-minute bus ride to come report to us. It's 2 hours, from Little Rock sometimes, with the transfers and things of that nature. But again, we're just all trying to make it a better place. And like I said before, in the past, one of the things that we have that makes it work, or at least has the potential to work better than most offices and things of this nature, is that the majority of the people that work in this office live here. So this is their backyard and their front yard, same fair, same mall, same grocery store, same everything, that we're gonna run into some of these folks. And we have to have that good relationship with them in order for the safety of everyone, including our own families. When we travel with our family and we run into somebody, we don't want to have an altercation and stuff. So we have to be understanding and have that good rapport with them. So, but thank you guys. But thank you for asking the question. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Brown, I see the hand is up on the Zoom icon. I just wasn't, is that intentional? Did you have?
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask Mr. Sepulveda, when you talked about housing, what's available to you guys for housing, and where does it come from? How's it paid for? What are the rules regarding using the housing? Give me a little picture of what's available for housing.
All right. So the housing is basically subcontracting places that we have. So we use Health Right 360, which is an organization, nonprofit down in the LA area that services outlying areas and stuff. So we go through them. They secure housing. So Lancaster, Palmdale is a little different, the Antelope Valley, because we actually have houses. Some of the metropolitan areas are going to have buildings with, cubicle-sized, rooms with a bed in it, a little place to clean up on and stuff. But we actually have housing. Sometimes it's 2 to a room. Sometimes it's 1 to a room. So they qualify through that. They get 3 meals a day. They have house rules. Most importantly, they're all sober living. They have to, they won't take someone that is going to test positive for a narcotic, a controlled substance upon entry. If they don't come home, if they don't come back, if they come back under the influence, they might get a warning for the first time. and then they're going to be asked to leave. The thing is, sometimes we can put them in a house and it's not the right fit, but we can find another house that is the right fit. So we don't stop at the first house. So if someone gets removed from the first house or says, hey, I don't want to live here anymore, I don't feel comfortable, maybe the house manager or whatever have you, then we'll try to find another location for that person that might be a better fit. And sometimes that does take 2 or 3 times, but many times it's the first time and they settle in, and you hope that they all just get along like a big family, because again, they're provided meals, support. Sometimes they have classes throughout the day. Excuse me. Our probation officer will visit them quite often to make sure that they're not only in compliance, but to be supportive. You need anything? How's it going? We encourage them to go to work. Like some house managers will say, look, you can't be here all day. I need you to go out. And they're real proactive. They're going to make them go out and just look for a job. They'll offer them computer services inside the house so they can look for a job online. And again, sometimes we know that if you send them all out to the street during the day, out of the 6 or 7 that live in the home, they might not always live there. I mean, they may not always go out and look for a job is what I'm saying. And we understand that. So we try to encourage it also to continue to look for work. And that's why when I ask you folks, if you have anything that you know of hiring, those are the kind of people that we want to encourage, because they already have stable housing. And that's a big deal. They can get, they don't get ride shares and stuff, but sometimes the house manager will have a vehicle and he'll take that person to work. Every house is different, has its own personality, but that's what we offer. But the majority is sober living. They have AA meetings, NA meetings. They have different things that goes into the house. And if the house manager is really good, they're going to have more quality communication and resources. Hopefully I answered your question, Mr. Brown.
Good answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, it looks like that's all the questions. Thank you guys so much. I have to attend to a task, so I'll kind of listen in for a little bit longer, then I got to go to another meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Have
much.
a great day, all of you.
Thank you. Okay, Highway Patrol update. Do we have? Oh, okay. We'll move ahead to District Attorney, Mr. Sherwood.
Morning. Okay, let's see. So for February, we did not file any arson cases. We did file 17 auto burglaries, so that's up about 300% from last month. So I'm not sure. I think auto burglaries are still, I think they're still cites. So sometimes there's a delay between when they're actually arrested and when we actually file them. But that's the highest number that we filed since they started tracking those back in August. Residential commercial burglaries, we were at 7. That's pretty much average for the last 6 months. Criminal threats, we were at 4. Again, that's basically where we've been for the last 6 months. Drug sales, we were only at 1. I think drug sales, those tend to come in waves. They tend to bring them all in at once. So for example, we filed 13 in August, but we've only filed 17 since then. So they tend to come in waves. Domestic violence, we filed 4 felony domestic violence cases. That's pretty average for the last 6 months. Felony assaults, those tend to be a lot of what we prosecute. Those were 17. No felony DUIs, so that's good. Grand theft, ID theft, that's 3. That's pretty consistent. Illegal firearms, 6, so that's actually down a lot from what we've been filing. Murder, attempted murder, only 1. It's pretty consistent. Robbery, we were at 9, and that's been consistent for the last 6 months. Sex crimes, that includes child abuse and failure to register. Those are 4, and that's pretty much average for the last 6 months. And vandalisms, we were at 6. That's a little high, but not that many of those. So those are our stats. I don't really have anything else. We're pretty much back to full speed here at the DA's office in terms of trials. Things are basically returning to normal. We're short-staffed. That was the only kind of difference, and we're dealing with some staffing issues, but other than that, unless anybody has any questions, that's all I got this month.
I had a question. At first, that's good to hear. Well, in terms of your staffing issue, has that been exacerbated the last year? I mean, I know with efforts to defund law enforcement, that's affected police departments and sheriff's departments. Has
Yeah.
I guess since the new DA took over, has there been problems with retention and hiring new deputy DAs?
Well, yeah, we are, I haven't been one to complain too much about staffing. We're one of the busiest branches in the county. I mean, we have a large, as the sheriff's department is probably also one of the busiest sheriff's departments. We have a large area that we cover. We do a lot of jury trials here, which is unusual. I mean, there aren't, other courthouses don't try as many cases. That takes a lot of time and energy and resources. And we do have a lot of cases that we prosecute up here. And I can tell you that when I started as the head deputy 4 years ago, I believe we were at 42 deputies, prosecutors, and I think we're now at 30. So we've lost, 35% of our staffing. And it's an issue. I mean, it affects our ability to, we have to triage a lot of the cases. So we're focusing our attention on violent felonies. And that's to the detriment of some of the other cases, which, I think, auto burglaries and some of the other quality of life crimes that are important to the community. Those get, I don't want to say they get swept under the rug, but some of those cases don't get the attention that they probably deserve. So yeah, I mean, it's an issue, and I know we are trying to hire people, just like the sheriff's department. So hopefully, that'll help, but I think that's at least 6 months, if not longer, away. It just takes a long time. In fact, I'm on the hiring. I'm going to do some interviewing in end of the month. But again, it's not unique to the Antelope Valley branch. I've talked to my colleagues who are in charge of other branches, and it's county-wide. So it's something we're dealing with, and we're doing the best we can with the resources that we've got.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely want to reiterate the appreciation we have for you and your deputy DAs in a difficult situation. One other question in terms of policy coming down from the top. I know that recently DA Gascon admitted that he exercised poor judgment in not prosecuting the sex offender from that Denny's attack 10 years ago, the one who was just going in to stay in juvenile hall. Has there been any, despite the public admission of a mistake from him, I haven't heard if there's been any policy change in how those are going to be handled. Has anything come down from there in terms of handling cases differently as a result of realizing that error?
Well, I do know that he did institute a number of new committees, and the one that I've been, because we don't do juvenile crime in this particular, we do juvenile crime in this branch, but it's a different unit. I'm not responsible for the juvenile crime, but he did institute a number of special committees, so that, for example, now they formed some sort of a special circumstance committee. They're not seeking the death penalty. Still, I believe that's still the policy, but they are looking at special circumstances, which would mean that people are eligible to receive a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. The only way you can get that is with the special circumstance. So they have formed a committee, and they are asking that the prosecutors submit a memorandum articulating why they feel special circumstances are appropriate. And I've encouraged all of the DAs that have cases where there are special circumstances that would have been filed, that they present memorandum to me to be reviewed, that I will submit to the committee, and then we'll have to see what action they take. And I'm more than happy to report back to all of you whether we are now seeing some special circumstance being filed. I believe they did the same thing with juvenile. I will look into that, and I will get back to you for sure. next month because there were a number of committees that he formed to, I think, review some of those types of cases.
Okay, so those committees review individual cases or just the policy?
Though they review individual cases.
Okay,
Yeah, you have to.
great.
Yeah.
It would be great to hear back if that results in some change in allowing your deputies to prosecute these more appropriately. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Anyone have any commissioners have any other questions for Mr. Sherwood? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sherwood. Appreciate your time. City update. City Manager Cottle.
Yep, thank you, Drew. Just real quick, I know we reported last week on the hiring of the new director, so we're still waiting for that person to come on board. Do want to introduce Ronald Chatters. He's over there in the corner. He'll be partnering with Andrew Noga and Tracy as a manager of the division. He'll be working on the Diversion, Prevention, and Equity Division of the Public Safety Office, and that's the 3 pillars of what we've got going on. So we want to finish that off with the director and hopefully have that to you soon. As you guys know, we'll be investing heavily in the Public Safety Department to partner with the Sheriff's Department to impact the outcomes that you guys are talking about today. So there'll be a lot more to come on that.
Thank you very much, sir, and welcome. Any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Cottle? Okay, moving on to state legislative updates. Ms. Balch from Assemblyman Lackey's office is here.
Thank you. The Assemblyman has 5 proposals that will be before the Senate and Assembly Public Safety Committees. The first one we've discussed, and that is AB 1406, the taser placement bill. And so far it has done well. AB 1835 is the SVP placement bill, which is in a hearing later this week. AB 1977 will require local law enforcement agencies to report when a firearm or child was present during the occurrence. And then those numbers would be included in a DOJ report. AB 2654 is a California State Council on Child Death Reviews. And as a note, California is the only state in the country without a team of experts taking this on. And this will kind of tag on to Gabriel's Law, be helpful for that. AB 2726 will enable correctional officers to listen and record when someone is planning to harm either an officer or another inmate. The Assemblyman wanted you all to be aware also of AB 2654 by Assemblymember Chris Holden. This bill requires a statement made by a youth 25 or younger to be presumed inadmissible as evidence against them in a criminal or juvenile court proceeding under certain circumstances. This furthers the trend of treating adults up to age 26 as children. The Assemblyman's not a fan. Also, sad to report that the repeal of Prop 47, AB 1599 by Assemblymember Kiley did fail on a party line vote yesterday in the Safety Committee. And it appears that some people don't listen to their law enforcement in their area or their citizens, because we have heard an outcry from both, and the Assemblyman, of course, voted for that. Another bill to watch, AB 1603 by Assemblymember Salas, and that would return the threshold for felony theft to $400. It was scheduled for hearing yesterday, but was moved to March 22nd. So we're hopeful that that will also be that will be favorable, since the other one was not. One of the concerns that the critics are raising is that reverting the crimes back to felonies would dramatically increase the incarceration rates, which would put us over the cap mandated by the federal judiciary. And that is our report.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have questions for Ms. Balch? Okay, well, thank you, and please pass our appreciation to the Assemblyman for continuing to bring forth these common sense ideas and know it's a difficult environment in Sacramento. Okay, is Mr. Roque from Senator Wilk's office present? I think he might be online. Okay.
I'm here.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. So I have a pretty short update on my end. Obviously, we are looking into different things to promote public safety in the state of California. With a lot of the legislative ideas that have been coming up, obviously that becomes more difficult than said. With that being said, this week the Senate Public Safety Committee met to hear a couple different pieces of legislation. This was yesterday. Among them were SB 836. It's a bill by Senator Wiener regarding immigration status as evidence. Essentially, this bill reenacts a provision that was repealed in January of 2022, which would prohibit the disclosure of a person's immigration status in court unless the judge deems it admissible. It passed public safety by a vote of 401. Then we have SB 863 regarding regarding domestic violence death review teams. This one primarily would allow interagency domestic violence review teams to assist local agencies in identifying and reviewing domestic violence near-death cases. Among some of the substantial additions to this, it would make members of the death review teams and their agents and employees immune to civil liability unless the act or omission is a result of gross negligence. So it essentially adds safeguards in case anything is omitted during those reviews. And then finally, I have SB 903 specifically relating to the CDCR's oversight board. This bill would require the oversight board to examine the CDCR's efforts to address housing with incarcerated persons, including those with serious mental health needs who are released as parolees or subject to post-release community supervision. So it's essentially a bill regarding oversight for mental health needs. And all three of those bills passed, with the first one passing with one abstention, the other two passing in a unanimous vote of 5-0-0. That is essentially all I have for today.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Roque? Okay. Thank you, sir, and pass on our appreciation to Senator Wilk as well.
Well, thank you, guys.
Okay. Do we have anyone from Congressman Garcia's office on? Okay. Moving on, public business from the floor for non-agendized items.
This is a time to address the Lancaster Criminal Justice Commission on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards can be found on the back table of the council chambers. And for anyone participating telephonically and wishing to comment on non-agendized items, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your call-in number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. State law prohibits the commission from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Please press *9 at this time.
Okay, I see we have a gentleman here in person. Okay, Mr. Aber.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Staff, commissioners. Yes, thank you. I'm David Aber, and I've been to the meetings in a while, but I was attacked back in around Memorial time out at my place of residence at the time. And being a senior with disabilities, Detective Robinson did a fantastic job and came back and attempted to file criminal threats and assault with a deadly weapon, which he has video footage of property management at Kensington trying to run me down with a vehicle, myself and my support animal. So I thought that this body might be able to help me navigate. We all understand the problems with Mr. Garcon and his, as we heard earlier today, his reluctance to perform his duties. So I think that's pretty serious, somebody trying to run somebody down with a car. And since they have video footage of it, and Mr. Detective Robinson did such a great job and the assets that were put forth, hopefully this body can help me get it to Mr. Sherwood or whoever, and hopefully we can get prosecution. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, sir. Best wishes on recovery.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no additional speakers, so we will move to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Brown. Oh, is Dr. Brown still on?
Let me try and figure.
Oh, there he is.
Let me try and figure out how to electronically unmute this. This is high-level problems. I did want to address something. We talked about it in the past, and you remember Dr. Gurian came in a couple of sessions ago and talked to us a little bit about this, and it's a problem that all communities are facing. It's a so far unsolvable problem. I haven't seen a good solution put forward yet, and I'm talking about this triumvirate of homelessness, drug abuse, and mental health problems, and how they this is a cycle of people, and they drift in and out of law enforcement. They certainly drift in and out of the emergency department. They drift in and out of the community. And so I had a long talk with Dr. Gurian and with other people, trying to see if there might be some way to even to do a trial approach to the problem. The underlying problem is that the drug of choice is meth, and meth is an exquisitely addictive drug. It works even to alter the brain structure so that it becomes close to impossible for a person to willfully stop using meth. It's also exquisitely cheap. So you could get meth a lot cheaper than you get gasoline. So readily available and a very addictive and very destructive drug, meth. And so the question is, in order to get people off meth, you have to figure out a way to hold them in a custody setting where they cannot get access to the drug for a period of time for them to actually get it out of their system, not just the drug itself, but also the habit and the alterations in their mental status. So under Gurian's estimate, that could be a 6-month process. So how do you find a situation where you could get housing? So I was talking to Mr. Sepulveda about it. How do you get housing and mandatory incarceration in a setting that is not jail, which is way too expensive and probably a waste of resources? We thought about, for example, is there housing available that is abandoned military housing? You know, I don't know what housing is available out in the abandoned Miraloma facility. But if you could find housing and you could find people who were charged with a crime that could conceivably involve a jail sentence, and you allowed them to enter into a program in this custodial facility rather than go to jail, you might have enough leverage to get somebody to commit themselves to this kind of housing long enough to get them a little less addicted, or maybe completely unaddicted. One of the things that Mr. Sepulveda talked about, which I think is clear, is that you can put people in housing, but if you don't let them use drugs there, they're not going to stay there, because that isn't going to work. So it was I just wanted to tinker with this a little bit and maybe get a couple other people involved that might be interested in trying to come up with a proposal on a limited scope for a way to find housing that is mandatory and therefore drug-free in exchange for a withholding of prosecution, and see if we can make a little bit of a dent on this homeless, drug addiction, mental health community that is becoming so entrenched in everybody's community. So those are my preliminary thoughts. I was Any thoughts? Anybody have any suggestions? I was going to ask Mr. Sherwood whether there was a way to set up an alternative to prosecution that would involve a person choosing to go into a custodial situation for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dr. Bryan, I think we've talked about this a little bit at some point. We are already doing almost exactly what you're saying right now in Department A16. And, you know, again, if I know you're busy, but I'm more than happy to show you around, introduce you to the judge and the prosecutor and the defense attorney who do work in a collaborative fashion and have done an excellent job and what I think is an unbelievable success rate. Now, they're dealing not just with drug addiction, but they're also dealing with mental health. And as you probably know, they too tend to go hand in hand a lot of times as well. So we have a lot of dual diagnosis. But I haven't seen anything in my 25 years that's even remotely close. We've got another program that they've given us a bunch of money to implement. It's a mental health diversion, a rapid diversion, and now drug addiction is actually classified as a mental health disorder. I forget what they call it, but it's something codependency disorder. So now you've got drug addiction or drug users falling under the mental health umbrella. So those people are all being processed through this. It's called rapid diversion. They're getting diverted, and I'm tracking them because I have my doubts because there's no custody component here, and I've got about 150 cases. Now, it's only been going on about a year, and as of right now, there's a 0% success rate. I mean, literally zero. So, and the numbers of people falling off increases daily. So I think by the time that program has run its course and we've spent the millions of dollars that we're going to be spending on it, I'm not sure how successful that program is going to be. So we'll see. There hasn't been going on long enough for there to be any successes really. But I'm not optimistic as opposed to the other program that we run out of A16, which I think is the most successful and the only way. And I've talked to the probation officer that's in there that's involved. I've talked to the treatment coordinators that are in there, and I've asked them. I've said, you guys have been doing this for a long time. Is this the only thing that works? And they've told me yes. This is the only thing that works, and it starts with 6 to 8 weeks in the START program, which is a custodial program in the Sheriff's Department, followed by 6 months of inpatient, where there's generally at least 1 or 2 violations, followed by another at least 6 months of outpatient. So you're talking a minimum 1.5 years, generally 2 years, before the person is free and clear. And it's a long process. There's a lot of violations, a lot of beratement from the judge and threats from the DA and threats from their lawyer. But we do graduations in there about every 3 months, and there's a lot of success stories, and I've just never seen that anywhere else. So.
Thank you for that. And that's the START program, right?
Yeah, it's called the START program, and it's in the county jail, but it's not general population. So sometimes we have problems because, and I don't really understand, this is maybe a better question for the Sheriff's Department. They have classifications, how they classify people. And if you've got a certain classification, you can't get into the START program because they don't want certain people in the START program. But that's a phenomenal program. I don't know who started it. I don't know where it came from. It just existed one day, and I've never seen anything work like that.
Good. That's very good to hear. How long is the incarceration period? That is where there's they don't have the option to go out and get loaded.
Right. So what the issue that we're dealing with right now is because because it works, it's impacted, right? So you have people that are waiting 6 weeks to 8 weeks just to get into the program. And so they wait their 6 to 8 weeks, and they get in, and then the program is 6 to 8 weeks. So you're looking at, do my math, but you're looking at somewhere between 4 to 6 months of actual custody time before they're then released to inpatient. So yeah, I think, that's plenty of time. And I know drugs are prevalent in the county jail, but they at least in the START program, they seem to be with people that are at least at this point, motivated to get clean, right? And a lot of these people are facing substantial jail time. We had one guy that he comes back to our graduations and speaks, who was, facing 25 to life. He was a 3-strike candidate, and now I think he's a pastor. So, so generally, because they're facing so much time, that's the motivating factor for them, or the reason they're willing to stay in for 6 months is because 6 months is still a lot less time than 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 8 years, and so they're willing to do the time and to try to get clean, and they want to try to get help. So
excellent. Well, thank you for that, and I'll make a call and set something up and come in and let you explain this in more detail. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Commissioner Harris.
No comment.
Okay. Commissioner Hurd?
No comment, sir.
Okay. Vice Chair Little?
I'm interested in that. Dr. Brown, I'd be interested in following suit with you to kind of get more on that. That kind of intrigued me, Mr. Sherwood, that you were explaining. Obviously, all this stuff that's been going on, and I know our commission is always looking for avenues and extra stuff. I'd be very much interested in knowing more about it because of the pandemic issue that's happening with homelessness and drugs and everything else in the city, and how our city is trying to combat it tooth and nail. I'd be very much interested in that, knowing more about it. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I agree. I think in particular as the city moves forward, when we have our new public safety director on the job, it'll be a good item to discuss and see if there's something we can do to help expand that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
On that subject, if we could, Kathleen, would it be possible for you to send out to each of the commissioners the contact information for the other commissioners so we could chat with each other?
Well, we can, I think we would have to get on the agenda to go ahead. I mean, I think we did form a subcommittee, but we have to be careful about the Brown Act. With 7 of us, only 3 of us can discuss an issue that's going to be on the agenda outside of a meeting. If you go beyond that, you were taking the discussion out of the public, which is both good for transparency policy and also the law. So what I think we could do, I'd have to revisit, I don't recall offhand if who we had selected for that subcommittee, but if we have that, we can get you the others that are on the subcommittee that you can then work with them, but we can't all email each other and have a group chat or anything like that. That would be a Brown Act violation.
Drew, could it be, could something be sent out that would be asking the commissioners who would like to be on that subcommittee? And then Kathleen, and then something like that. And then we can go from there. At least we will know.
Okay.
I mean, I'd be interested in it, and Dr. Brown's interested in it, and then we could go from there. But if that was the case, at least we'll know who's interested, then we can go from there and make a decision. Would that be helpful?
Yeah. Yeah, staff is going to go ahead and send that out to us.
Okay.
Okay, thanks very much. Is there any other comments? Hearing none, if there's no objection, we will adjourn to our next regular meeting, which will be Wednesday, May 11th. We're going to be dark in April. So Wednesday, May 11th, 2022 at 10 a.m. in council chambers. Assuming things stay on the positive track they've been going, we'll continue to have a mix of in-person. So if commissioners and presenters that would like to be here in person, at least at this point, we should be able to do that. We'll also still continue to have a virtual option for those who wish it. With that, if there's no objection, we stand